Hi, I'm Suzanne Clegg. Welcome. Energy therapy for cancer. It can really truly make a difference. Less pain, hot tumors cooled down, less medication, better quality, and often quantity of life. It's easy to do even for beginners. This video is the third in a 4-part series. If you liked those videos and you're back for more, please like this video. If you haven't seen the first parts, watch them first and then come back here. I will be reading and commenting on this book. There is Another Way, Energy Medicine for Pets with Cancer. I wrote it back in 2016. Much is the same and much is different. And as I read it, I will update you on what has deepened in my clinical experience since then. In this video, you'll learn the steps involved in giving an energy session, and then I'll go through how to tell if it's working. There's no blind belief required or even promoted here. All right, like, subscribe, comment, and hit that bell. Thanks for supporting me so I can support you in taking care of your loved one with cancer. Okay, here we go. And this is Chapter 5, Healing with Your Heart, Hara, Hands, and Head. Step 1. Oh, at last we've arrived at what to actually do and think and feel during a healing session. Step 1. Opening with the heart and the hara. Before you even approach your pet, center yourself in your heart. Most of us walk around and are not embodied. If you ask us where we are, we say, in the thing I was just reading, or all over the place, or in the past, or in the future. To begin a healing session, it helps if you are in your body and in the here and now. Who knew? Do a body check. Feel the weight of your body connecting with your chair or the ground. Notice any tightness or relaxation in your body. Notice any anxiety or peace. Just notice, notice, notice. Notice if you tend to skip this step and gently return to it if you did. Now create a boundary or a spiritual container for the exercise. You do this by simply saying to yourself, I am now going to practice this healing procedure with the name of your pet. You can say that out loud or quietly. Some people pray and ask that the room be a safe place for receiving healing. One of my favorite prayers is, I open my heart to the possibility of healing. You might imagine a circle of healing light around you and your pet. You can do whatever invocation you want, but some sort of personally authentic opening is helpful. So experiment with what feels best to you. Now, acknowledge your physical body, especially the middle of your chest, your heart area, like the center, not over on the left where your actual heart is, but like your heart, the middle of your heart, your chest, and your hara. So you're doing your heart and your hara, and that's your lower abdomen. Okay, so it's like a hand's breadth below your navel inside. Be aware of your whole body and invite extra awareness to your heart and your hara. Feel the beating of your heart and the quiet of your hara. It helps to hold still to do this, but with animals that is not always an option. So like if you're out in the corral with your horse, you might not be able to sit and do it, but you can stand and you can walk and still be aware of these two body parts. So you can be aware of your body even if you are in motion. You're going to try to keep the awareness of your heart and hara during the whole session. This helps you stay contained in yourself and allows your pet the freedom to heal in their own way and in their own time. I should say, I can't emphasize enough, so I'll just say it again. This is the power of this method is its detachment. It's not its focus. It's like you just touch it and then you let go and let something a lot bigger than your ego do the job. All right. Step 2, scan for emotions. Scanning for emotions is like walking outside and noticing if it is hot, cold, windy, or humid.
what is the emotional weather in the room, in you, in your animal friend? This is a baseline reading that you notice, so that if something changes, you'll be able to observe it. Don't judge the emotions. It's always okay to make yourself or your animal more comfortable, physically or emotionally. If your dog is just sitting there minding his own business, you might not get a strong emotional reading on him. If you're aware of your own emotions and the emotional weather in the room, as the session progresses, and if an emotional issue that is in your dog's tissue is released, you may feel it in yourself or in the room. When cancer heals naturally, the emotional history sometimes goes backwards, and you get a whiff of what emotions went into the cancer as they leave. If you have trouble, just pretend that you can tell what you and your pet were feeling. You can tell when you walk into the room if there's been a recent argument. It's the same thing with sensing the emotions in your pet. If you're paying attention, and with some practice, you can also feel happiness, sadness, and anger. There is not always a lot of emotion at the beginning of a treatment, so don't worry if you don't feel much. You're not so interested in what is there as much as what changes during the session. Okay, that's that baseline. You can sense emotional shifts in a variety of ways. Stay relaxed and centered in your vertical axis, so, kind of being aligned that way, your heart and hara. Throughout the session, as you observe any changes in the emotional weather of the room, of you or your pet. Okay, so I want to emphasize that even though this is not like psychotherapy or therapy, emotional issues get resolved. And since you can't usually, unless you're really good at animal communicating, it's not a cognitive thing. And even if you were, that's not a cognitive thing. But you will actually, I see them as shadows leaving the body. And I just get a sense of sadness or anger or fear. It can be the animal's own experiences. It can be whatever they've taken on from the people that they've loved or cared about or just been around. Okay. Step 3, making energetic contact. Arrange yourself and your pet so you can touch them. Place a few of your right hand fingers lightly on your pet anywhere that it's easy to reach. Use your left hand with slightly relaxed fingers to pass over your animal's energy field. This is usually a few inches off their body, although for horses it can be several feet. Notice if there are areas of a magnetic pull or push, areas of hot or cold, areas that seem to want you to touch them, and areas that seem to not want to be touched. Don't worry if you're right or wrong, it doesn't work that way. Don't worry if you're making it up. If you are a beginner to feeling the energy field around your pet's body, it works just fine to fake it until you make it. If I were to watch you doing this over Skype, or Zoom now, or something else tomorrow, we will both sense at the same time something important about a certain spot on your pet. Watching others in the group video call work with their animals will give you confidence that what you are feeling is real. If your pet is in a cage, as in a hamster, place the cage on your lap or on a table that you're sitting at. You can scan the cage with your hand to determine the hot, cold, push, pull, want, don't want, almost as if the cage was the body of your pet. It's kind of like that, though. Really, they just kind of live inside it. It's kind of like how we live inside our bodies. Watch my YouTube video, Hamster Healed with Energy Medicine, to see how I place my hands on Georgette's cage. At this stage of sensing with your hand, since you're not really touching the physical body yet, do include your heart and other parts of your body in your sensing. You're not trying to do anything but notice what is. Since your heart is open, the sensing can be a loving connection, but avoid sentimentality. 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝗿 and is usually more about you and not about a genuine connection with another. Let's say that again. 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝗿 is usually more about you and not about a genuine connection with another. So when you do a heart link, there's a powerfully loving and neutral beholding almost. It's like you just are there. You're just there. You're not messing. You're not being messed with. You're just present with love. Okay. Horses have enormous energy fields, usually 12 feet away from the body. You'll probably sense with your whole body where the edge is. You don't have to be at the edge or anywhere in particular, just be where it feels right today. Four-legged mammals are, as a rule, more grounded than upright people. Sense their grounding. Stay in your hara so you can observe from a grounded place inside yourself. Now, I wrote this book in 2016, and now I do a whole other layer of connecting with a cat is different than connecting with a dog or a horse or a gerbil or a snake or anything else. But I'm reading the book just to let you know that there's a little more to this contact that I've developed over the years. Okay, step 4, making physical contact. Once you're exquisitely tuned in to where your pet's energy field welcomes your touch, place your hands there. Then check the tumor area. Notice if there's heat coming from the tumor. This is important as it's best to treat when the tumor is hot. You don't have to do it that way, but it's just you get more feedback when it cools down. It's easy to tell with a superficial tumor. It's harder with the deep ones. Leukemia travels about, but there are hot spots that may appear in different locations on different days. If the tumor is deep inside the body where you can't feel its heat, I can help you find other ways to determine if it's a good time to treat. You can't overtreat, so just treat frequently if you can't tell. And beginners have really good luck at this, so just fake it a little bit, or a lot. Once you have inspected the energy field and the physical sense of temperature, return to the place, so you kind of get an overview. Then you return to that place that felt so right to touch. If you're new to feeling for energy fields, just put your left hand on their lower back. All right, so let's see if I say this. Use your left hand, which is controlled mainly by your intuitive right brain, as the treating hand, which holds very still during the treatments. Then touch anywhere convenient with your right hand or a finger or two of your right hand. So this is my left hand. So if my right hand, this was the body, I might just touch a few fingers with the right hand. Or the left hand, I might like connect with the palm of my hand to the animal. And you know, I'm an acupuncturist, or you might know that I'm an acupuncturist. The palm has the pericardium meridian running right through it, and it's like when you shake hands, it's like you're joining hearts. The pericardium is the heart protector meridian, and anyway, the palm is a very powerful connecting thing. So the treating hand looks like it's not doing anything, but you're putting the palm, your palm chakra, if you will, right on the area where you want to do it, and it's passive. You're just touching with your palm. You're not fiddling with your fingers. The right hand is more moving and like, oh, let's try here, let's try there. Okay. All right. So let me start at the beginning of this paragraph. Once you've inspected the energy field and the physical sense of temperature, return to that place that felt so right to you. If you're new to feeling for energy feelings, just put your left hand on their lower back. Use your left hand, which is controlled mostly by your intuitive right brain, as the treating hand. Then touch anywhere convenient with your right hand or a finger or two of your right hand. My right hand is a ground. There are no rules, but in general, I like to initially place my left hand in a spot that is not the tumor area. In my coaching program, I can help you find the right spot if you're insecure. It's a lot easier with video contact. There is no wrong place to touch your pet. There are just good and better places. Don't fret about being in the wrong spot, but do try to notice if one spot feels better than another and try to spend some time there. Step 5, start your Clegg resonance cycling technique. And I actually just start people with the Bengston cycling technique now because of the reasons I said earlier. This you can read about ahead of time, and then you can use the time when you're touching your pet to practice it. This technique has you mentally attach and then detach from physical things, life force phenomenon, emotions, images, and then even thoughts. It's a whole process that takes practice, but you need to start somewhere. You don't have to be good at it for it to be therapeutically effective. It is my experience that progress in learning the technique is more important than how good you are at least at first. If you're a beginner, simply pretend you have a propeller attached to a cap on your head, and it is spinning so fast that the propeller is a blur. Keep this spinning, moving image in your head while you touch your pet. You may forget that you are supposed to be thinking this thought, so like any meditation, bring yourself back to it. Return and return. Just a little aside about this. Back way before I met Bengston, probably 25 years before I met Bengston, I went to a workshop and they had us spin a propeller on top of our head and touch somebody. And I took away my first headache. And it was like, oh my God. And then I got it. And I don't ever get headaches, so I knew that it was like a transfer thing. So this is powerful, right? Just having a propeller spinning on your head is a trick, okay? And I just, the reason I wrote this book is it's not hard. It's really not hard. It's just that we think, oh, that can't do anything. Well, did you try it? Also, now I have a video on YouTube. It's called Octave Resonance Spinning. So you can just get started in 7 minutes of coaching on how to do this spinning technique that's ever so slight. I mean, spin a propeller on your head is like, what, 5 seconds to learn? And this is like 7 minutes to learn that video. So you can go there and you can do that. And then you can move on to the Bengston's rapid image cycling if you want to go that way. Yeah. All right, where'd I go? Okay, step 6. Move your hands to a different spot. After a minute or so, you will get the sense that it's time to move your hands to a new spot. Repeat the process of feeling the energy field with your left hand until it gets to a spot it likes. Place your right hand in a spot that makes your left hand feel more active or important. You continue holding and then moving until the tumor has cooled down and you feel a cool breeze over the tumor area. If you have a young animal with a rapidly growing tumor, this cooling is not subtle. You don't need your intuition. Your hand feels a chill instead of a warmth coming from the tumor area. It rarely happens in a flash. It usually takes 5 to 30 minutes for a tumor to cool down. The more rapidly growing the tumor is, the more it responds with this cool down. Slow-growing tumors, dormant tumors, or fast-growing tumors in animals that once had chemo or radiation don't usually respond enthusiastically. And once again, it's not about the chemo or the radiation or the age. It's about whether you respond, okay? And it doesn't hurt to try. And even if it's not this big, robust cool down, from working with my human patients, they tell me it's still very comforting and therapeutic, and they need less medication and that. They might not, get completely cured or whatever, but it was helpful. It was very helpful. Okay, step 7, heal the whole animal. Now that I've told you about that nifty trick, I don't want you to fixate on it. There's more to working with cancer than cooling down a tumor. It's one convenient indicator that your pet is taking the treatment or receiving the spiritual information it needs to be whole again. You may feel sensations of flow while you're touching. Go with them and find places to put your hands where there seems to be more flow. You can willfully create a flow, as any Qigong practitioner can tell you, but don't do this with that. But don't do that, okay? Because it will interfere. We're not trying to put the energy in, but we will. Okay, let's see what I say here. You may get magnetic feelings in your hands and they may heat up. Your sensations are quite irrelevant to your pet's healing process. So your hands and the chi they feel in them is actually nice, but it's really what's going on inside your pet that matters. Your ability to perceive and even unconsciously respond to your pet's healing process may keep you interested, but should not be confused with the power that heals. All right, so your inner attitude is one of offering, not of fixing. Your presence helped your pet connect with something in its true nature that it is otherwise cut off from. Your touch allows your pet to receive healing direct from their source, not through you and not from you. So a lot of people think of energy healing as, I don't know, you pray to God or something, and a light comes into your head and then into your heart, and you feel ever so loving, and then it goes out into your arms and into your hands, and then you touch your patient, and then it's like you're like this channel for divine love, and it goes through you into them. And I'm an acupuncturist, okay? And I know how to do that. I really, really, really know how to channel chi into people's bodies. And I get better results with cancer when I don't do that. And with other ailments too, I like to at least have moments of channeling and moments of complete neutrality. So this thing, the cancer in particular, just seems to, if you put chi in it, it figures out how to do something else. And I understand how to work with chi with cancer, but that's not what I'm teaching in this thing, in this book, because this is so simple. It's actually, the only thing hard about this is it's hard to get out of your own way and do as little as possible. So use the spinning as an ego distraction, so you feel like you're doing something. It's doing actually a lot more than that, but you can use it to just help you be a little more neutral. So just, okay, something's going on. And then notice where you're touching. And try to touch with your heart, your hands. Feel connected with your whole. You're really connecting. But it's neutral. Very neutral. Okay. Step 8. Don't give the cancer a lot of attention. You don't want to psychically attack the cancer cells. This is a big-time inappropriate use of your ego, and it can feed the cancer. The cancerous cells are also your beloved pet's cells, and when they remember their truth, they will die on their own. If you find yourself enraged with the cancer, don't suppress your anger, but feel it while doing your cycling. In my coaching, I spend time modeling inner gestures that help you be present with the cancer without getting caught up with it. Your cycling acts as a buffer so that the healing happens even if you don't have the perfect inner attitude. You may have feelings of fear, revulsion, deep sadness, and anger if you care about your pet. When you touch their tumor, it's common for these feelings to rise. Don't suppress them, but make sure you are spinning your imaginary propeller while you're feeling them. Sometimes I get a strong emotion of loving gratitude and reverence when I treat. This is not usually directed at the consciousness of the cancer, rather the consciousness of the intact part of the animal that cancer can never negate. I don't love the tumor, but I do lovingly invite the cancer cells to remember how to receive the healing that is the primordial foundation of their true nature. And when I work one-on-one with people, I can kind of sense if you're messing with it too much. And just, we play with it, because it's hard to know that you're doing it too aggressively, and actually, getting in your own way. And so we do little experiments, like do it this way, now do it the other way. And it's really obvious when you can do it the right way and the wrong way that, oh, it's actually working better when I do it this certain way. So you don't have to believe me, but it's pretty easy to tell. Step 9, ending the session. If you're a beginner and can't feel energy and your animal's tumor is deep, or your animal's in a cage and you're not checking its temperature, it may be hard to know how long to treat. Let's narrow it down to a few things to think about. Soon you'll be getting some sort of click when it's time to stop. Okay, so some treatment is better than no treatment. A 30-second treatment is better than no treatment. It's hard to treat too much. It doesn't seem to hurt to keep treating even if your pet has already got what it needs for now. So unlike eating cheesecake, where it's just wonderful at first and then it becomes too much. No, it just seems to not matter if you keep going. I healed my hamster by treating her for about 5 minutes a day and sometimes skipping days. Bengston's skeptical graduate students healed their mice by doing his rapid imaging technique while holding the mice's cage for 30 minutes a day. Short, frequent sessions may be better than a long, extended session, so keep that as a possibility. I like to think of a hot tumor as being hungry for healing. When it's not hot or after it's cooled down, it's not hungry, so it doesn't do much to keep feeding it healing. Wait till it gets hungry for more. Cancer is chaotic by nature, so it's sure to need different amounts of time on different days. Start with 15 minutes and go up or down in time as you become more familiar with your pet's response. With people, I say start with 30 minutes and go up or down. Just they seem to, but it's main thing is you give them how much they need. Often your pet will just move away when the treatment's done. This can be tricky because you need to distinguish between your pet moving away because you're annoying him with your aggressive healing style, in which case your ego is too involved and I can help you get it out of the way, or your pet is loving the treatment and then moves away because she's done. And of course, the last one's what you want. The gold standard of how long a treatment lasts is to treat until it's done. There is a characteristic settled quality, a lack of hunger from the energy field when it's done. If you know what to look for, it's not usually subtle, and even beginners can tell. Step 10. What to notice between sessions. Notice changes in sleep, eating, elimination, mood, or mobility. In my classes, I teach you to energetically charge cotton and some simple distance healing techniques to support your pet between sessions. You may also purchase charged cotton from me if you prefer. So charged cotton is where I walk around in nature, usually, and I cycle while I'm holding cotton, and I often get visions and sensations. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times because I can kind of tell if it's working or not. And then I usually do a little video to let you know what it was like. And then I send it to you in the mail, and you take off a little piece of it and apply it. It's not the same as having my hands on you, but it's sort of like that. My hands, the energy of what happened when I was touching the cotton is stored in the cotton, and then when you touch it, your connection to the source is reminded how to do that. Okay, that was chapter 4 of There is Another Way, Energy Medicine for Pets with Cancer. All right, chapter 6, how to tell if it's working. This technique may seem to rely on magical thinking, but you won't be able to tell if it's working and won't be able to make the teeny tiny adjustments in your form if you're busy thinking that it is magical. 100 years ago, most people thought that airplanes flying people around was impossible. Now we have schools teaching mechanics and engineers the basics. Newer and better flying machines are being developed all the time. The same goes for my technique. The results may seem to defy the laws of nature, but since the technique is reproducible and teachable, there might be some laws we are overlooking. I don't understand all the ins and outs of how it works, but I do know what to look for. I'm okay with that. My father was an electrical engineer who didn't know what electricity was, but he invented a light that hasn't burned out for over 30 years. Most researchers know that they are exploring, and the mystery of it all is awe-inspiring and fun. I invite you to take on a research mentality. When your pet's body heals from cancer, there will be signs that it's happening on the physical, life force, emotional, and spiritual levels. Below is a handy checklist that covers the common signals that healing is happening. And I must say that any one of these, of course, is not enough, and it just gives you a sense that you might be on the right path. Okay, on the physical level, the tumor cools down during treatment. You may feel a cool breeze over the tumor area, like 1 inch off the tumor, or actually the tumor area, if you touch the skin, will feel cool. Blood tests and scans ordered by a veterinarian will indicate progress. Fever. Do not give medication to reduce fever. Almost every healing tumor has a stage where there is a fever. The tumor gets larger and softer. This one can be scary, a very good reason to get support from me. Veterinarians often have experience with a naturally healing tumor and can share their clinical experience. That's more than human oncologists work with naturally healing tumors, because it's more common for them to be supervising the care of somebody who's not doing chemo or radiation. All right. Another sign that it's getting better is the tumor shrinks and disappears, sometimes within days, sometimes within months. The tumor extrudes itself from the body and falls off, or can be easily cut off by a vet. I've had tumors that just sort of sit there, and they're dead, and they're not growing, and they're just there. And if you get them cut off, they're gone. They're just not growing anymore. They're just sitting there. I don't know why they don't just fall off, but it's not that hard to get it cut off. Okay, on the life force level, when you're treating your pet, the energy field around the pet will respond. And if it's responding, that's a good sign. It means you might be on the right track, or at least you're probably doing some good. So these typical ways include a clear sensation of connection and magnetic flow. Your pet likes being treated. They often move away when they're done. That's tricky because sometimes they don't. Cats in particular are tricky to work with that way. But you can do it. Your pet starts being more active if they were lethargic. There is a lightness and a lilt to their gait that was missing before. They become more settled if they were hyperactive. They sleep better, eat better, poop better. Their fur looks better. They're having more good hair days. And the light in their eyes seems brighter. It's quite easy to create like a chi connection and to create a magnetic flow sensation when you're touching your pet. You want to be careful. This is a sign that you are energetically connected if you're feeling it, but not necessarily a sign of healing. This flow is ideally a response to something that is beyond your conscious control. If you created it, there may well be a healthy therapeutic effect for your pet, but it's not as profound as what I'm describing here. Sending love through you to your pet may help them, comfort them, and reduce their pain, but it does not cure cancer, or even, it might. It just doesn't work. There's just so much more power in neutrality than I ever imagined. Love is important, but you also need to be detached. Don't use love as a tool. Just open your heart to the possibility of healing, and use your cycling technique and distract your ego with that. And yes, the cycling technique is more than an ego distraction, but it also is an ego distraction. Wait and witness the flow. Find the flow. Get happy when the flow arrives. Don't force the flow, and do not mistake the flow for healing, as it depends on the source of the flow. You don't want the source to be your ego. We have to learn how to get our ego out of the way. Keep a piece of your awareness in your 𝗲𝗲, which is your lower abdomen. That also keeps you safe and keeps you from interfering. Because the big part is like, well, what do I do if I'm not doing something? Like, well, just stay inside your 𝗲𝗲. Just occupy yourself with that. I don't think you can pick up cancer from your pet, but you might be more ungrounded and disorganized than you need to be afterwards. Being grounded is good for you and good for the treatment. And so there's many ways to ground. I have videos on grounding. Lots of ways to ground. But one way is to go into your body and be present there, into a quiet, still part of your body, which is usually your lower abdomen is usually pretty still and quiet. Your heart's more active, and it's nice to connect with your heart, but it's easier to be neutral in a quiet part of you than in a beep, 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 beep part of you. All right. You know your pet has finished taking the treatment when they feel energetically calm. Their tumor is cool and energetically quiet, and not much flow is happening between your hands. After the treatment, wash your hands in running water. Release any energy you no longer need right down the drain. Occasionally, my left hand, which is my active treating hand, feels wonky after the treatment. Rinsing in cool water returns it to its normal state. It's good to do this wash even if you don't think you need to. Because so much of this is unconscious. Like consciously, okay, we're good. But unconsciously, who knows what got going. So it's nice to do a ritual of some sort that says we're complete. Then your unconscious mind lets go, and that actually helps the healing work better. Clinging to the healing usually doesn't help it. Okay, on the level of emotions, you can expect a sudden shift, positive or negative, in your emotional state or in your animals. Every treatment is unique, so the only rule is that if there's a sudden shift in emotion, it may be coming from the healing that is happening. So here's some examples. First is peace packages. I get a download as if a chunk of information arrived, and it feels like a wave of peace just entered the room. Trying to manufacture a peaceful feeling to induce healing usually backfires, as the ego is involved. Often the tumor cools down, at least partly, after a wave of positive emotion enters. Next is you get happy. One of my favorite things to do is to sit with a big, hot, ugly tumor. I swear that's true. Because I can almost guarantee that I will get to piggyback on the happiness my patient feels as it heals, or it's just this peace thing. It's like this joy thing that happens as it responds to the healing. And I get a whiff of that. So if you get that, that's a good sign that it's happening. All right. So you can get happy. You can also get negative emotion as a response that something's going on. If you're particularly grumpy after a treatment, you may be getting a whiff of the emotions that left your pet's body and are still around in the energetic field. Cancer can be caused by emotional information stored in the body. Not always, but that can be part of it. Your animal may have taken it on from people or experienced from their own trauma. It's a good sign that the treatment is working if you feel it as it leaves. Not everyone feels this, but if you do, it's not a bad sign. But you don't wallow in it either. Use intention to clear it out of you and the room. Astral debris responds to astral cleaning. If you experience strong positive or negative emotion during or right after the treatment, be present with it. This means that you are aware with loving concern or interest from your heart, the quietness of your hara and the spinning of your imaginary propeller while doing something with your hands. So you just kind of be there with it. It's a good thing to do. Some of your most tender, pure, loving thoughts can unfortunately be vehicles for your ego to interfere with the healing. For example, reverence is nice, but it is not a goal and it's not a device. Reverence is an emotion that often accompanies genuine spiritual experiences. I would describe my healing method as being spiritual in that it comes from a place beyond emotions and images. Any emotion may accompany a genuine spiritual experience. So the indicator that a spiritual experience just happened is not the presence of any particular emotion. I'm reverent when something happens that evokes a feeling of reverence. Reverence often emerges from me when I appreciate beauty, or when a package of peace unloads into my patient, or when a tumor cools down. I don't get reverence so I can boss God around and make things happen that I want. It doesn't work that way. Reverence doesn't create beauty. Beauty creates reverence. Reverence doesn't create a healing tumor, but a healing tumor can certainly create reverence in me. A healing tumor can also create laughter or tears or something else. So neutrality, you're getting the thing here. It's neutral. It's good mental hygiene to think thoughts that create positive emotions in us. When doing a formal healing session, however, I like to use my emotional sensitivity to sense what is happening rather than manufacture a certain emotional response. So for the duration of the treatment, I simply notice my emotions, and when they get strong, I turn on my cycling. Tumors have cooled down when I experience transcendent light and love, as well as when I experience sadness, rage, and fear. It's like the healing doesn't care what the emotion is. It just uses it as a place it has to go through to get from heaven to earth, or lead the earth stuff up to heaven, or whatever. The astral, the emotional level seems to be part of the mediator, is a mediator of that. Okay, on the spiritual level, how to tell if it's working. You feel nothing with a capital N. This is different from the non-dualistic altered state of awareness of enlightenment. That level of expertise is not required. You just feel like yourself. The emotional, life force, and physical feedback is there, but you're connected and you're just you. You're sitting there connected enough with your pet to appreciate that they are taking the healing, but you're not doing anything. You feel nothing in the sense that you're not trying to manipulate your pet's experience. You are just there, touching them or their cage. At first, you need to concentrate on your cycling, your loving heart, your quiet hara, while touching something meaningful with your hands. After a while, doing all these simultaneously becomes semi-automatic. You can be watching TV or talking politics while you are present in this manner. As long as it doesn't stop your pet from taking the healing, it's good. You do feel something in the sense that you can tell healing is happening, but you're clearly not doing it. Your pet is doing it. Many beginners are not aware of this level of feedback. They might not be able to tell that healing is happening, as it is a subtle perception. The spiritual part is subtle. The other stuff we talked about is not subtle. But this spiritual thing might be subtle for a beginner. With practice, you start identifying it. And frankly, I feel like that's what we do with the one-on-one training. You know, I've kind of broken the money barrier by having my patients do 99% of the work, and I just come in and help them. Because it just seems they just need to be improving, not necessarily getting really great at it. And this ability to sense, like, oh, something just shifted. We're all doing it, but we just sort of override it. So, like if I was coaching you, I'd say, what just happened? What did you just think of? There was a shift. What did you just experience? And we do that like a handful of times, not a million times, not even 100 times. A handful of times you start, oh, that's how I listen. You start understanding how to receive the awareness that keeps you going. Your reception of it doesn't really matter. It's your pet's reception of it that matters. But though it's kind of nice, it's fun, and then you keep doing it because you're getting feedback. And if you don't do it, you don't get any feedback at all, and you don't get the benefit. Okay. Fortunately, it's not necessary to perceive healing spiritually for the healing to work. After all, it's not about you. It's more about your pet's connection to Source, which you facilitate with your presence and gentle touch. It can help to inwardly notice how your pet is connected to Source. A purring cat or a relaxed dog can teach you a lot about this. Learn from them. Sense your own divinity, your own true nature, as a way to keep your heart open and your hara quiet, while your pet is receiving healing in their own way. That was chapter 6. Thank you for watching, listening. I hope this is helping you. Please like and subscribe, and see you on the next chapter, which will be Common Mistakes and Myths.